Hello, welcome to this series on human trafficking. Today, we're going to be talking about the digital dangers, the new reality of child exploitation. And this is prepared by Casa de la Familia, CDLF. And I'm Dr. Ana Nogales. I'm a psychologist, founder of Casa de la Familia. And of course, I'm presenting here with Jennifer Sowada. She's a licensed psychotherapist, and also she's the clinical director of CDLF. So welcome to all of you. We need to be very aware of the dangers of digital media and social media, because it's really affecting our youth. And they probably are not aware of the danger that is around them, but probably as parents or grandparents, we don't know about that either. What you're going to see today is going to be something that will open your eyes. Do you know that about 95% of the kids, teenagers and kids, have a smartphone or have access to a smartphone? And when I ask you, probably, if you know what they are looking at, you will say, yeah, they're looking at Facebook. Well, Facebook is not really what they are looking at nowadays. Maybe 45% of the kids are looking at Facebook, but they are looking much more at other media, at other social media that probably you don't even know that it exists. This last month, we have in the news a case that will open your eyes. So let's start with this one. Let's go to the video.
Accused of raping a young girl he met online. Detectives say 32-year-old Carmel Vasquez assaulted the young girl yesterday after communicating with her for the last 2 months on social media apps Snapchat and Meet Me. The child's parents first contacted the sheriff's office to report their daughter was missing yesterday morning. They say she was home by Sunday night, but when they awakened, she was gone.
They started communicating for about 2 months. A couple weeks ago, they actually met up for the first time in person. To our knowledge, nothing really physical happened with them. But then here on Monday, they hook up and go back to his place, and then he ends up taking advantage of her.
The girl returned in the morning. She told her family she sneaked out around 1 o'clock in the morning and was picked up by Vasquez. After the assault, deputies say he later dropped off the girl at her home and drove away.
You might think this is an occasional case, something that may happen, but no, this is much more common than you ever think. You know, even parents that are very aware where their kids are, suddenly the kids sneak out of the house and you don't even know. You don't even know that they're gone. Some come back before the morning and they were out all night. I remember a case that I was working at. Her father was a principal of a school, very much into education, and she told me that she would sneak out every night. She was not picked up for child exploitation, for sexual exploitation. She had other issues, but that's what she was doing. A lot of kids are doing that. Why they are doing that? Let's see what we have here to present to you today. Next. Okay. You will say it must be very hard to groom a teenager. Why do they let them go into that? Well, we have to consider the age. We have to consider the developmental process of a teenager. There are a lot of biological changes. They are getting to acquaintance of how their body is changing. You know, hormones are kicking in. They are making them feel different things. They are they're becoming more sexualized. They're having a lot of feelings that they don't know what to do with those feelings. Now, neurologically talking, the frontal lobe is partially developed. It's not developed completely. That means that they cannot really think clearly. They cannot think like an adult. So sometimes we say, what were you thinking? Now, teenagers cannot think clearly as we want them to think. That will come with time. The frontal lobe is developed by the age of 25. So they still have a long way to get into that direction. And we have to acknowledge that at this time of life, they are really starving for approval, for acceptance. They want to be part of the group. They want to be unique. They want to be understood. They feel that the parents will not be able to understand them. Nobody will be able to understand them because they feel different. It's their own process. And if we have a little bit of memory, we can remember how we felt at that age, but now it's a little bit different because now we have social media. Okay, let's see what else we have about social media. When there are traffickers around these kids, they will be looking about who can be a great victim, who can be an easy target. So they will be searching for the vulnerabilities. So they will be, for example, who is vulnerable? Kids are in the street. What are the kids that are in the street? The kids that are experiencing violence at home, domestic violence at home. They don't want to see that anymore, so they go to the streets. Kids that are having sexually molested, sexually assaulted, or experience any kind of trauma, that feel threatened at home. Those are the kids that are usually in the streets. Kids that want to belong to a group or a gang because they want to be part of the whole thing, because they're looking for a new identity. They want to feel strong, and maybe a gang can give them that sense of identity, so they want to belong. Those are probably the ones that are mostly vulnerable. But there are other ones that have emotional needs. Those that feel maybe they're in a very good, nice, beautiful home with beautiful parents and beautiful siblings, but they feel that they need much more than that, that they need more love. They need to be understood. They want to feel unique. They want to feel that they have some talents, but they don't know what the talents are. They are questioning themselves what the future is going to be. So those that have low self-confidence, those that do not feel good about themselves, are usually searching outside in others for answers to their own questions, looking for reassurance, looking for someone that's going to come and say beautiful things about them. And the other factor could be also economic stress, because when there is, especially in these times with the quarantine, when there are pressures because somebody at home is not able to work, there are no jobs, they have to stay home. So they're much more vulnerable for someone that will come and say, here you have, I trust you, here you have $100 for, give it to your family. So those kids are much more vulnerable to be trafficked, to be targets of human trafficking. Okay, let's see the next one. The scouting, when they check about these vulnerabilities, they are really looking for trust, and the perpetrator will be very looking into feeding those needs of those children. So they will offer trust. They will offer something like, you can trust me. You can tell me everything about you. You can tell me how you're feeling. You can tell me what's wrong. And then they will say, yes, I understand. Yes, oh, I'm sorry for you. And they will offer a little, probably little maybe tokens to make them feel good, to show them how great they are, how great they look, and as I said, maybe a $100 bill, and the child will be totally amazed by these powerful men. Usually, it's a man, powerful men that is approaching them. I said men, but can also be women, because women are also involved in this kind of trafficking. So the goal is to gain the trust, and the goal is to obtain valuable information, to obtain valuable information about what the needs are of this particular kid, and also information about the family. Usually the traffickers get involved with a lot of information about parents, siblings, and whoever is important to this child, because it will be great information for the perpetrator to give some threats, or to convince them that something has to be done when it's time for them to actually exercise the power and control over this kid. Okay, we'll go see the next. So in the manipulation process, they are feeling the needs of being accepted, because as I said, they want to be accepted. There is the idea of independence, because that comes along with being a teenager. Any teenager wants to be independent. They want to feel that they can do it by themselves in life, depending on others, right? Because a teenager cannot do it, actually. So when they want to feel independent at home from the parents, they actually need the parents to support them to be independent. So that sense of independence is kind of twisted in their minds, because they cannot think right, as I said before, but they still starve for that sense of independence, that this perpetrator is going to try to give them that sense of independence. Then financial support, they will provide that friendship. We're gonna be, buddies forever. Sometimes they are just looking for love, and they feel, hormones. Remember, hormones are there kicking in, so they will feel this sense of love for someone that is so ideal, because this child is developing this idealized relationship with this man or with this woman that is offering so much that had never received in her life or in his life in the past. So they're gonna fall totally in love with this person. Some other ones are manipulated in terms of alcohol or drugs, because some kids are already addicted to alcohol and drugs, and that's what they need. So those are very, very easy targets. Or they will go into false promises like, uh, I can give you a great job. I can get you go into Hollywood. I have friends, or I am a producer and I can bring you to modeling. You're so beautiful. Trust me. Trust me. The whole thing's about trust me. And in the mind of a teenager, they just make up these stories that they read in between lines, and they think, well, if he's offering me this job, it must be because he has these great connections, or I'm sure that he's such a successful guy that I'm going to follow his steps because he's going to guide me into this process. We all do that. We all fill in the gaps, but teenagers do it much more with little evidence of reality. So once they gain the trust by filling the victim's needs, then they try to isolate the victim. And this is a way of isolating, is a way of gaining power and control. So they will isolate the victim, telling, this is a secret. This is between you and me. Nobody else would know about this. This is our secret. And teenagers feel very special having a secret with somebody else. Having a special for having this great relationship. It's a great quotation secret to keep. So they start isolating, taking distance from family and friends, and one day they're ready to leave. Next, okay. So this is when they go into the trap of abuse and control, because once that kid is isolated from the family, isolated from friends, and read my lips, isolated, even living at home, because the child doesn't have to leave home. You can go to sleep, and tomorrow morning this child is not in the house anymore, like we just saw in the news. In many other cases, they just leave the home unexpectedly, and you don't know where they are. So once they are isolated from family and friends, once he got her disconnected, then that's when the abuse and control starts. And that's when the whole thing about you do what I say or otherwise this will happen. And let's go to the next one. That's why it's so important to monitor the communications, and Jennifer Sowal is going to talk about that. But keep in mind, this is more frequent than you ever think. Children will go and follow a stranger, thinking that this stranger is going to be their best friend forever. They will fall in love with someone else, not knowing who this someone else is, because their mind doesn't think right. So let's see what Jennifer has to add into this.
Thank you, Dr. Nogales. Yeah, so we're looking at monitoring communication on social media. A lot of times what happens is when our kids are on social media and, maybe they're playing a video game, or maybe they're on some type of media share, they may be getting these instant messenger chats, or they may be having in-game chatting. And so like this one, for instance, it says, how old are you? And the person answers 11, LOL. The other person says, oh, nice. And they're going to say something else. Well, what happens is this 11-year-old thinks, oh, well, I'm just playing this game that all my other friends play. And so probably this person that I'm talking to is 11, 12, right? Like they're around the same age as me. They have no idea that this person on the other side of this chat is an adult. and is doing the things that Dr. Nagala just shared about, they're going to start that grooming process. They're going to start to get to know them. So how old are you? Oh, you're 11. Okay, well, so do you like to play this game? What's your favorite character in this game? Or tell me about what you like to do in here. Yeah, I love to do that too, right? So they're going to talk to them like they're the same age as them. They're going to be talking to them and getting to know them, asking questions. Maybe, oh, so do you have any siblings? How old are they? You know, what's it like with your parents? And maybe they even start throwing in little things that say like, oh, you know, at my house, yeah, my parents fight a lot. Or so they're going to put things out there and see if this child responds to them in a way that they can create a connection, and they can start to hear and they can prey on those vulnerabilities of what that child says. Okay, let's see what we have next. So this is kind of a little for you to see a little bit of what happens. Sometimes our kids may post online, or kids may post, or teenagers a lot. Teenagers especially, that's a way that they're communicating, and maybe they're putting this out there just to communicate with their friends, or they feel like that's the way that they're getting things across, right? So they may say something like, I'm alone, no one gets me, right? Well, then they get a response that says, I'm here, I understand. Okay. Again, they're just planting that seed, like listening, saying, I'm here for you, right? I wish I had a boyfriend. This person says, well, I love you, right? They're meeting that need, they're meeting that connection. I have no friends. Well, I'll be your friend, right? Again, just planning, like making that connection, making them see them. And again, a lot of teenagers think they're talking to a friend. Oh, you go to a school near me, or oh, you go here. Yeah, I've never met you. The school's really big, but that's so interesting, right? I don't feel safe. I need to leave. This is a big one, because then it's telling this person that they don't, not only do they not feel safe and that they want to get out, but now it's opening a door for this predator to say, well, I'll protect you, and start that process of laying the groundwork for that. Well, I know where you could be safe. I know where you could be happy. I could keep you safe, or I could give you the things that you need if you feel like you can't be at home. Things like, I don't know what to do, I feel lost. Again, so trust me, you can talk to me, you can share anything with me. And you know, the video that we first watched, they were in communication for 2 months. This wasn't just like, hey, how are you? Let's meet up. No, this girl was groomed for 2 months before they had a meetup, right? So she felt like she had a connection with this person. She felt like he got her and he knew her, and you know, he was learning all these details about her. And that's what's happening during this time of these interactions and these exchanges that are happening, is that the perpetrator he's or she is building that connection, building that false sense of trust for them. Okay, let's see what we have for you next. So in terms of staying safe, and a lot of what I'm going to share with you is informational, but I also want you to be able to know these things for your kids and for your teens, and to be able to have an open dialogue with them about this. And so some of those things that are super important that we want to be really careful and having these open discussions, but is that we don't want to ever share our location. Okay, something so important to teach our kids is we do not ever want to share our location. That means we don't share where we live. We don't share where we're going to school, right? And they may think that's so innocuous because they have other friends, their friends know where they go to school, right? But online, not everyone knows that. And then this person can show up. Hey, so-and-so, because now they've seen their profile picture. They've seen their other pictures. They now know where they go to school. So we're not sharing location information. Don't become friends with strangers. This is something I'll tell you. I have my daughter plays games, and like, she's not allowed to friend anyone unless she comes and talks to me, and like we look at it and we see, but no strangers. We have to know the person in person for her to play with that person on the game, right? Don't become friends with strangers. And I hear all the time, well, they said they were 11, or they said they were 15, and people can say anything they want, and they can post any picture they want to make them look like that, but that does not mean that they're not an adult. Never meet in person, never setting up meetups or Well, I just would like to meet you. I think we could be friends. Not meeting up with people, not accepting gifts. That's another way. Well, I'd like to send you a gift, or I want to send you something. That's another way to get a location, right? So maybe they've been talking for a long time, and they've been building this false sense of trust. Well, I know that you really love this certain thing. I'd love to send you a gift like that, right? You know what? I was at the mall and I saw this really cool thing and I picked it up for you. I'd love to send it to you. That's a way for them to get a location, to get an address. So again, not sharing any locations. This one I realize probably seems pretty obvious, don't post sexual images or even personal images. And we may think, well, of course not. But the thing is, for kids, again, we're talking about they're not necessarily thinking in that same way. And this person's been grooming them. They've been telling them all these things that, make them feel really good. And, we talked about lowered self-esteem and, this person's building them up. And now it's like, well, maybe if you just show me a picture, just a little one, no one has to know if you send me this picture. It's okay. It's just between me and you. That's all it is. But it's not. And so having that open conversation that we don't send pictures, we don't share pictures. That's not something that, we're giving to other people. This is a big one. Don't reshare photos of minors. And this is just across the board. Even if it's not your child, don't reshare it. Just don't reshare a photo of a minor. And reminding your kids that too. Don't reshare photos of your friend. That's their private information. That's their photo to share. I talked a little bit about games. Don't play online games with strangers. This is another way that very much so that perpetrators are getting their way in there, is that, a lot of times they play with their headsets and they're hearing everything that's going on. And they're listening to all those things. Oh, are your parents fighting right now? Oh, okay, what's going on, right? And so they're listening to those things and they're talking with them or they're texting them. And they, again, have no idea who is on the other side of that text or on the other side of that call. They think it's a friend, they think it's a peer, and oftentimes it's not. Things that are good to do and things that are important to do. Be suspicious of, if you don't know them on the internet, be suspicious of that. Be suspicious that you don't know them, that they could be someone that you don't want them to be engaging with. Do talk to your kids regularly about this. Don't be afraid to have these conversations. This is so important. And I think sometimes we worry that we don't want to share things with our kids for fear that then they'll know, bad things. But they need to know that these are serious things and that they need to protect themselves. And in that, knowing that you're there to protect them as well. And so establishing trust with them about their internet use and monitoring their internet use. Absolutely. Monitor the use, monitor what's going on there. Be the parent who knows who your kids are talking to, what they're doing. That is so very important. Okay, let's see what's our next. Moving on here to about encouraging our kids to speak about this. That's part of that, building that trust with them, that they come to us and they talk with us, or they're talking with trusted adults, and that maybe they realize, gosh, I accidentally friended someone, or this person's been talking to me, or I don't feel comfortable. That we don't shame them about that, that we don't make them feel shame, that we 100% just listen to that and say, okay, how can I help you? How can we make this stop? How can we change this? Right? We want them to come to us and we want them to talk to us about what that is. And we want them to be able to have some and talk about other trusted adults too. Who are other trusted adults that they can share that with? And that they know that if something doesn't feel comfortable, they can talk about it. If it's happening and you're not sure how to do that or how to approach it, seek professional help. Reach out to a counselor, reach out to a therapist. Get someone involved to help have that conversation with you. If you know that it's happening, if you recognize that it's happening and you're seeing it happening, then report it. Report it to your local police department. Report it to the online platform that it's happening on. So whether that be a gaming platform, whether that be a social media sharing platform, report it to them. Let them know that that's what's happening there so that they can help to shut it down as well. This is specifically for your kids, making sure that they identify themselves as a minor, that they're not portraying themselves as an adult instead of being a minor and getting false attention for that. And save everything. If any of this is going on, save all of those details. Save it so that you have it to share if you're reporting to the police, you're reporting to the online platforms. Save all of that. All right. We have, so things that you can do as parents, and even as if you're having this conversation with your teens, with your kids, but as parents, one, learning more about human trafficking. We've been doing a series on what human trafficking looks like. All of our videos are up on our Facebook, they're on our YouTube, on our website. You can go back and look at any of them. But learn more about human trafficking. Learn more about what it looks like, what's happening. It's all around us. And share with other people. Share with others. Share with other parents. Share with other people what you're learning about and what you're seeing. Because the more that we know and the more that we're sharing with others, the more that information is getting out there. And the less that these people can hide in the shadows and people not know what's going on. Also supporting survivors and being an advocate for that, supporting that. Knowing what industries are feeding into the growth of human trafficking and avoiding those. Don't support those. Don't feed into that. And lastly, report it. If you are seeing it or if you are hearing it, report that. Report what is happening. All right. So I want you to see this. I want to preface this video before we watch it. This is a very intense video. I want you to know this, but I feel that this is extremely, extremely important for everyone to see, for everyone to know that this is happening. I encourage that you do watch the entirety of the video. It's about 9 minutes long, but I really encourage you to see that this is actually what's very real and what's really happening right now.
I never thought I would be chasing child predators. It was 2 years ago when our team intercepted conversations between a 12-year-old girl and a 40-year-old pedophile. He wasn't just talking to her, he was abusing her, coercing her, collecting images and videos, and no one in her life, her parents, sixth grade teacher, or friends, knew what was happening. I have a sixth grader of my own. I have 3 kids, actually, but you don't have to be a parent to be devastated by this. I work for a tech company that uses artificial intelligence to detect issues like grooming and sexual predation, and this is something we see constantly. These abuses are occurring quietly and mostly go unreported, and we want parents to know exactly what we know about what happens online. So we made a plan.
A man has been arrested for allegedly raping a 15-year-old that he met over Snapchat.
Instagram has become the #1 social media site.
At the top of the free download.
We've also seen firsthand the predatory symbiotic relationship that exists between Instagram and Snapchat.
We would create a fictitious 15-year-old girl, complete with a believable social media identity, put her online, and document how long it would take for a predator to approach her. But creating a person out of thin air is complicated. We needed photos, but we knew we couldn't use an actual teenager. It would have to be someone on our team. I'm 37, but our graphic designers assured me that with the wonders of photo manipulation, they could magically make me look over 2 decades younger. We bought clothes and accessories, studied body language and facial expressions. We methodically covered and edited signs of aging, wrinkles, weight shifts, and stretch marks. Meanwhile, we coordinated with federal, state, and local law enforcement. Then We built a story around her, a history, a family, a social circle. Libby was born in 2004 and is a sophomore who recently moved to Indiana. We created multiple online accounts for Libby, prominently displayed her age, and posted typical teen content. We even created virtual friends for Libby who would comment on her posts. With everything in place, we would launch the project, give it a few months, and see if anyone would buy it. So we hit the button, and Libby went live. Within the first hour of posting on Libby's accounts, 7 adult men contacted her. By the end of 9 days, that number was 92. The conversations ranged in severity from making sexual comments to sharing and requesting explicit photos and videos to manipulation and threats. The onslaught was so massive, it took 5 of us playing Libby full-time to keep up. We decided to move off-site where we could scale up the operation and gather as much information and evidence as possible. Since Libby is 15, men might try to falsely justify their actions towards her because of her proximity to adulthood. Would parents question, where's the bar? Would a 13-year-old face the same barrage of predators? A 12-year-old? How young could it possibly go? The graphics team transformed me into 11-year-old Bailey. Bailey is afraid of the dark. She hasn't had her first crush yet. She's still prepubescent. A parent might assume Bailey would be insulated from any sort of predatory attack. We launched our 11-year-old persona online.
444 and go. One like from a guy whose profile photo is a penis.
So let's say 1 minute and 7 seconds. We have a message request.
Although this, sorry, 2 more requests just came in. How much time? A minute and 40 seconds?
Yeah. How old are you? You go to the profile, you know that is a child. It also says in the profile that the child is in 6th grade.
Another one.
It's just lighting up. Like the inbox is just boom, 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 boom.
An incoming video call in less than 5 minutes.
I can't see you. Don't be shy.
They all say don't be shy.
Few parents know just how dangerous these platforms are for so many kids. So we brought some on site so they could see for themselves. 11-year-old Bailey's persona was approached with an even more disturbing level of manipulation and requests. While the majority of the abuse happened from a distance, our child profiles also received requests to meet up in person, especially our 15-year-old persona. 28-year-old Keith was relentless. Like the others, he took no issue with Libby's age. He shared explicit videos of himself. He treated the virginity of an underage girl as a prize to be stolen. It was a tough decision, but if Keith wanted to meet Libby in person, we would let him. We synced up with our law enforcement contacts, and within 24 hours, we were on the ground and ready to meet. We already had evidence of what he had done online, but was he willing to carry things out in real life? We knew 37-year-old me attempting to pass for 15-year-old Libby would be a challenge. But I would wear a hat, a lot of makeup, and a big sweatshirt, and see if he showed up.
I've never done anything like this before, so I'm a little nervous.
The first for everything.
Yeah.
Don't be. I'm not gonna rush you. We just go upstairs and talk.
Okay. Have you ever?
Shy.
Are you okay with me being 15?
I've never done it. But it's okay. I like to be gentle, make you comfortable. I don't want to just get all the feeling and just, you know what I'm saying?
Are you hungry?
So I'm trying to dodge it. Let's go upstairs.
Cyber tips coming in from the National Center for Missing and Exploited.
Bark turns over these potential child predators to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Using the app has led to arrests like this one in Florida last year.
The brutal reality is that a predator doesn't have to be in the same room, building, or even country to abuse a child. Libby and Bailey may not be real, but they represent countless children who are being sexually and psychologically abused, both online and in real life. I think about how I would have felt as a young, impressionable child. I would have kept the abuses to myself for fear of being shamed and blamed. I would have suffered with it, secretly and quietly.
Hi, Mama.
Hi, did you have a good day?
Yeah. Mama?
Yeah.
I was wondering, so in 2 more days you're gonna come back?
That's right.
Okay. I love you.
I love you too.
Our work has led to numerous arrests, but it's a drop in the bucket. Our work, nor the work of law enforcement or legislation, will ever be able to protect children as well as engaged parents and guardians can. When asked, my advice for parents is to talk to your kids early and often, know what apps they're using and with whom they're communicating. When facing crisis, kids need a soft place to land. Make sure they know they can come to you for help.
Okay, so I have already seen that video, and I feel like just watching it again with you guys is just, it's so uncomfortable, and it's terrible to see that, but it is the reality, and we felt it was important that you were able to see that is the reality of what's happening. That is the seriousness of what is going on around us, and it's so important that we know what's going on and that we're in tune with what our kids are doing. And so we have a couple on the screen here. If you want to, take a screenshot of this, if you want to write these down. This is for the National Human Trafficking Hotline. It's available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can call, text, even live chat with them. They have lots of different ways to reach them to report trafficking. And then we at Casa de la Familia are working very hard to help survivors of human trafficking. We offer services for victims of crime, for human trafficking in general as well. We have support services for any type of service that you're looking for that we can offer for that. Dr. Nogales, I'm going to let you go a little bit more in depth with some of the things that we have to offer here.
Yes, we do offer psychological counseling for anyone that has been in this kind of traumatic situation. And we also offer a program which is called the 13 Reasons Why I Love Myself for those teenagers that have been experienced anything similar to this. So we want to empower them. We want them to feel good about themselves. Again, we don't want to feel shame because they need to talk about this. They need to report it. They need to know that they're going to be supported by the family, by the community, and by everybody involved. Also, one of the questions here, so for more information, please call us. There you have the phone number. I saw in the chat that somebody asked what are the most common chat rooms that these kids use. I'm going to read a few ones, but there are maybe 100 or maybe even more. And some are not based here in the US. Some are based in other countries of the world, but we get them here. So these are, a lot of them are international bases too. Most of them are local, but there are international rings about this too. So the most common ones, according to our experience, is Snapchat, Meet Me, Kik, which is spelled K-I-K. That one is from Canada. Backpage.com, WeChat, that's also outside. This is from Hong Kong. GPS, Look Around. Cyberworld, there are several ones. And there are much more than this. So be aware, because you will not see them like in Facebook, like your son or daughter just typing something or communicating with someone like you do in Facebook. These are more chat rooms. They are separate. They are more secret. So they fit very well with the mentality of a teenager, but not with any kind of safety. So be very aware of everything around it. I know there are other questions. My son plays Minecraft. Is that safe, or parenting settings enough? Nothing is safe, really. I'm sorry to tell you, but nothing is safe. So you have to be with your child, talking to your child, seeing what your child is doing, and maybe it's safe, maybe it's not. More than likely it will be okay, but the smallest chance of something not being okay, the consequences can be so severe and will leave scars forever. So be very aware of what your child is doing. You want to say something, Jennifer?
Yeah, I was just going to add, absolutely, you're right. Nothing is safe. Whether it's a gaming platform, in terms of Minecraft, Roblox, any of these different ones. What the concern with that is when they're talking to, it's one thing that they're playing a game. It's a different thing when they are engaging with strangers on that game, or people that they don't know. So they're doing chatting in the game, or they're playing with other players that they don't know. That's when it becomes a concern. And all of those games there's an opening to that. And in terms of, we were talking about some of the apps, all of those absolutely, but it can be also social media sharing apps too. So talked about Snapchat. It can be TikTok, it can be Instagram, it could be Facebook, any of those where, I think in the video we saw some of those too, where immediately they posted a profile or a picture and they were immediately getting responses for that. So there aren't safe, I wouldn't say there are safe apps.
There's a very good question here. Is there a way I can teach my children to understand signs of manipulation? There's one thing that is very important. When somebody asks to keep a secret, that's a red flag. Yes. Keeping is, why should people that have no bad intention with us to keep a secret? Yes. If somebody's asking your son or daughter to keep a secret, that's a huge red flag. Please tell that to your son or to your daughter.
Yes. There's another question. Is it okay for me to post photos or videos of my kids? Can they be targeted by a single video or photo? Kind of my rule of thumb is that a lot of these places you can make it private, and if you're sharing photos of your kids, I would encourage you to look at the privacy settings that you're using. And even that, I mean, you can't be 100% guaranteed, but if you're setting them up with your privacy settings, and you know that that's set so that you also are sharing that's going to your family or that's going to your friends, you have a lesser degree. Again, we can't promise anything. I mean, you don't know who's going to share your photos. But I would say that looking at your privacy settings is probably the first step in that.
And talking about photos, 91% of the teenagers send photos of themselves. Could be okay, maybe. However, 1 out of 5 sends a photo of themselves nude or semi-nude.
Yes.
Don't. Yes. Please teach them, your children. You're leaving ourselves to the world being naked. Remember, when we give a phone to our children or any kind of social media access, it's like leaving the front door open of your home. Anyone can go in. Anyone. Would you do that? Would you just leave the front door open for anyone to come in? Think about it. Unless you give them the key of the front door, then your child will be protected. Otherwise, they will not.
Absolutely. And in talking with your kids, it's almost like they send that photo out They don't know they don't know who else is going to see that photo. That's like how you were saying, Dr. Nagal, is like leaving your front door open. That's like having no curtains or blinds on your windows and changing and undressing everywhere. Anyone can see that. Once it's out in the open, it's privy to anyone. And so someone had asked how to talk to their kids about this. Be honest, be open. These are things that are happening, and talking about that. They don't, when they share that, or when they share anything, it's now become public knowledge, right? I'd heard one time where it's like, you share something on the internet, you should kind of almost imagine that it's like you just posted it on a billboard on the 5 freeway, right? So, I mean, do you want to see that when you drive down the freeway? Do you want everyone in the world to see that when they drive down the freeway? It's kind of like that. When we post something on the internet, it's now become public knowledge for anyone. When we share that with someone else, we've now lost the ability to control who gets to see it or who gets to know it. And so anytime we put any of that out there, that's what's happening.
Well, stay tuned. We love having you here. We love communicating with you. We love sharing whatever we have learned through our professional careers and unfortunately through the victims too. So stay tuned because we have much more to offer. Yes. You can check what our previous presentations were, and we're going to share new information about child pornography and other issues that are very relevant to human trafficking. So we thank you, all of you, for being here with us. And thank you, Jennifer. Thank you so much for being with us.
And please reach out to us if you felt like you had questions about today's webinar or you wanted to know more information. Please feel free to reach out to us and let us try to answer some of that for you as well.
All right. Thank you so much.